Hello, welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, where I discuss the future of this region blessed with hydrocarbon resources. Every week, we give some time, we reflect on topics relevant to the development of the Niger-Delta and her people. This episode is no different and very crucial. You understand why I said so in a moment. But we're focusing once again on how to take our region to a more promising future. And this podcast is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, Renaissance Total Energies Ajib joint venture, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. Thanks for joining. I'm Adedayo Ilushakin. Topic for this episode is Nigeria's new tax regime. I'm sure, I'm sensing you've dropped everything you're doing right now to focus on this. Nigeria's new tax regime is what we're discussing. Now, today we're diving into one of the most significant economic shifts in Nigeria's recent history, the new tax regime taking effect from January 1, 2026, and as at the time of this recording, has taken effect already. Now, it's more than just policy. It affects salaries, businesses, prices, investments, and ultimately the social contract between citizens and government. For many Nigerians, the noise around the reforms has left overwhelming. Rumours about bank transfers being taxed to genuine questions about exemptions and new digital compliance rules. Well, today we break it all down calmly, clearly, and practically. In this episode, we cut through the noise and explain what the new tax laws really mean for individuals, small businesses, and the wider economy. Again, topic for this episode of Canvas is Nigeria's new tax regime. And my guest is Tunde Bello. Tunde Bello is a financial and business management consultant with over 25 years of experience in accounting, tax, HR, and corporate strategy. He is a chartered member of ICAN, CITN, and CIPM, and leads Alexander Stephen IQ and other advisory firms. Passionate about financial literacy and entrepreneurship, he founded the Alternative School and Teenpreneur Academy to empower individuals and teens with practical money skills and leadership insights. Tunde, hi, welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable.
Hi, Daya. Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year again. And I should say, welcome again. I think one of the very first episodes for the year, was it the first for the year?
I think the last.
It was the first for the year. Was it the first, Clifford? I think it was the first, yeah.
Okay.
Keeping
Owu at bay. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when after that conversation, or maybe it was before, I remember telling you that you had to come back real soon.
Right.
Because something very crucial, very important, maybe the most important, but at least top three right now in the country is the new tax law.
That's right.
And I felt wanted to discuss it, and I asked you, and you graciously agreed to return after your holidays, of course. And great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a good thing to be here. And it's a new year.
What is this new tax law thing that's got everybody talking? Some people confused, some people apprehensive, some people excited, some people optimistic, but everybody talking. What is this new tax law thing?
Excuse me. Personally, if there's anything that is going to affect Nigeria and Nigerians in the past maybe 15, 20 years, apart from GSM, apart from the national identification, apart from subsidy, I think this is about the only thing that has affected everybody. So the new tax laws are just a policy guidance, a policy framework to introduce processes to enable government generate additional revenue. That's how to be said. And through taxes. So it's a fiscal policy something that has to do with taxation and taxes and how to collect taxes, how to assess, how to determine, how to collect, how to account, and then the rights, obligations, duties of taxpayers, tax administrators, and government. So basically, that's what the new tax regime is all about, with the introduction of new process, which is the digitalization of the tax collection process and the tax payment process, as well as there are four laws actually that are newly enacted. The one that deals with the establishment of the Nigerian Revenue Service, formerly the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the establishment of the Joint Revenue Board and Joint Revenue Service, and then the Tax Administration Act, which talks about the process of collection, the process of administration, the rights and duties of tax practitioners, tax administrators. And then, of course, the Tax Act, which specifies the taxes to be collected, to be paid, and at what point, at what time, and at what rate. So these are the new four laws that are in operation from January 1st, 2026. And of course, like you said, that gets people talking.
In your professional perspective, did Nigeria or does Nigeria need in this what some may describe as a tax overhaul at this time?
Sure. And I need to put a caveat first. I don't talk on behalf of government. I'm a tax practitioner. I'm not a tax administrator. I'm also a taxpayer. So I am talking from the first one as a tax professional, a chartered tax practitioner, that yes, Nigeria does really need an overhaul. One, to collapse multiple taxation, eliminate multiple, not even minimize, eliminate multiple taxation, harmonize taxation and taxes, and then account, because that's where the major concerns of Nigerians are. If I pay this money, what are you doing with the money? How are you managing this money? How do you account for this money? What is my right? What do I get if I pay these taxes? And then, of course, the process. I mean, now we talk about digitization and digitalization and using technology, having access to records, information, and documents that produce or generate financial information upon which taxation and taxes are, done. So that's why I said it is important. And the last one is to bring a lot of people who are not in the tax net into the tax net. Nigerians don't pay tax. And the few ones who pay don't get the benefits, so to speak. And then there is no accountability for now. So these are the key issues around why I think Nigeria needs this new tax law.
No, intrinsically, or I think at the very least, basically, taxes are designed to generate revenue.
Yes.
However,
and redistribution of wealth.
I was going to say, but that can't be all there is to taxes, just raising revenue. That said, what were the challenges with the old tax system that needed to be addressed that these new tax laws supposedly will?
Okay, so one, multiple taxation, not knowing what to pay, not knowing when to pay, not knowing who should pay tax, and then accountability. So these new laws are to address all of those. What do I pay? Am I supposed to pay? What do I pay? When do I pay? Who do I pay to? And then what do I get for paying? And then who is responsible for collection and accountability? So I think that those are the things that this new tax law should address.
Now, didn't the old tax law specify what to pay, who to pay to, how to pay? I mean, is that novel?
Yeah,
now
it's not novel. I mean, that is why we tax practitioners always tell people that it's nothing new, but the policy Now, the new policy identifying taxes, eliminating black taxes, um, even giving rights to taxpayers. Most of us Nigerians don't know our rights. So this new tax law gives us rights. One, the right to be heard, the right to claims, the right to objections, the right to refunds, the right to ask, what did you use this money for? So we should look at those as a people, not just fixated on what we are paying. Because first and foremost, there is nowhere, anywhere in the world where you get a commensurate benefit directly for taxes you pay. No. Taxes are meant to redistribute wealth. You take from those who have and give to those who don't. The rural people who can't generate what you generate in the cities or in the metropolitan areas, in the urban areas, you take from them and then give to those. And when I say give, I mean cash, in terms of amenities, facilities, infrastructures, give them a sense of belonging that they are also Nigerians. So as you drove on all roads all last year and you were super excited, give them something to be excited about. Water, hospitals, medical and health facilities, schools, education, and all that. So that's actually what it is. So the new tax laws also specify that you have the right to know what these taxes are supposed to be used for, the collection, and how they are spent.
So government is some kind of Robin Hood taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots. So at a glance, what are the key points that Nigerians should know or can take from the new tax laws? And I use the word key points almost cheekily.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this small pamphlets that were called key points back in the day when you're preparing for some external
Like
examinations.
Yeah.
UAME, UTME, and co.
Yeah.
Key points. So what are the key points?
Number one, taxation of persons, taxation of companies, what persons should pay as taxes, when, what companies should pay as taxes, when, who collects what, how is what is collected shared, distributed, and then the Ombuds office where you can go to say, my rights have been denied me, or my money has been taken unduly, or I've been harassed, all those things like that. And then the other one is how you can now be taxed. You see, I'm very careful with the English now. How you can be taxed. If you look at that statement, you will know that it's heavy. So are you saying I can be taxed in my dream? Are you saying I can be taxed physically, spiritually, that kind of. So before now, you are a salary earner, or you have something else you're doing that gives you money. Nobody knows. So, but everybody knows you're working. So your employer, who is a tax agent under the law, is obliged to take taxes from what they are paying you. But your employer can't take taxes from what you're doing outside of that employment. So the new tax law identifies that and says, oh, you're a salary earner. You work 40 hours a week, but you have 40 hours to yourself. What do you do with the 48 hours? Who knows? So do you, by any chance, earn money somewhere else outside of your regular 40 hours? If you do, where's your tax? So these are key takeaway, key points of this new tax law. And if you do that, how do you pay? Then the issue of exemptions, small companies, definition, thresholds. If you do this, if you're into this, You don't pay tax, you pay this amount, you pay this rate, and when to pay. And then allowances and incentives. So these are key points in the new tax law. And then the other ones will be those who can help government collect taxes, the banks and the tax authorities. Before now, only the tax authorities. Now you have agents or you have other agencies who can collect. Then the last one is the harmonization, or if I can call it the new way of collection for government, which now gives the rights to collect taxes to only the Nigerian Revenue Service on behalf of government. So what that means is that normally where you will have gone to do business and then somebody will collect money on behalf of government, they won't collect money again. You only route that money or pay that money through the Nigerian Revenue Service.
There's so much in this, and I fear that, I'm certain, a 15-minute conversation cannot exhaust everything.
Yeah.
And I observe that you're being careful as well, not to delve into
Details,
specifics, because we can spend a whole hour on just one specific. There's so much. However, let's attempt just a few of the specifics. What comes to mind, for example, when I say key points. So, speaking of fears, as a taxpayer, have my taxes increased as a result of this new tax law? Am I paying more taxes now?
Okay, so the new tax law is a progressive tax law, which says that the higher you earn, the more you pay. And then secondly, point blankly, if I can use that word, the rich pays more. So the poor either don't pay or they pay low. So these are the key points in the new tax law in relation to the question you ask. So anyone earning monies and having a taxable income of 800,000 and below are now exempted from paying personal income tax. So if you earn 20 million a year, but your taxable income is 800,000 and below. So I don't know if you get that analysis. If you earn 20 million a year, but your taxable income is 800,000 and below, you will not pay taxes. But it is difficult to earn 20 million and your taxable income is 800,000. So basically, the new law says that if you're earning national minimum wage, you won't pay taxes. So if tomorrow the national minimum wage is 3 million, you won't pay taxes, except the law changes. So if the minimum wage is 70,000 today, you will not pay taxes. If the minimum wage is 3 million naira today, you will not pay taxes. So if your taxable income after all of the allowed deductions is 800,000 and below, you pay tax. You will not pay tax. Then if it is above but less than 3 million, you pay 15%. If it is above 9 million, you pay 18%. If it's above 25 million, you pay 21%. If it's above 50 million, you pay 25%. So that's the new tax law for personal income tax. Then the other thing is not just because you're earning salaries, other incomes. So this new personal income tax law under the new tax law covers both your salaries and other income that you earn from anywhere, whether from abroad or from within, whether from conduct or performance of whatever you're doing or whatever you're selling digitally, physically, whether it's a service, whether it's a good, then you will have to now account for it. And then under the self-assessment regime, which means that government will not come to you to collect your tax. You have to come forward and declare your tax by yourself. And then after that, government has the right to review what you have paid, confirm if it is adequate, and if there is any need, give you additional assessment. If there is no need, issue a tax clearance.
So, if my taxable income falls within the threshold that I have to pay tax,
Yes.
my question, and I have to go back to that question again, is have my taxes increased? Am I paying more tax now? So if I'm earning 800,000 naira, I'm exempted from, plus annually, right? I'm exempted from personal income tax. So I'm earning 1 million annually or above. And I was earning 1 million and above last year as well, up until December 31st. Am I paying more taxes now?
You're paying less taxes now. You're paying less taxes now because of the threshold that has been given. Before now, if you're earning 100,000 a month, for example, you probably pay like 5,400 a month. But now you'll be paying like 1,700. So it's less. I'm just giving this. I'm not saying I'm talking about absolute figures so that nobody will say, okay, you're talking rubbish. So you pay less. But the moment you cross a particular threshold, which is assumed to be above the general low income earners level, then you pay more because you now have more money.
What is considered, so in other words, let me reference what you said a while ago, the rich are paying more. Exactly. So what's the threshold for being rich now?
Well,
government must have a threshold, I guess.
Yeah, as it is now, if you're earning from 2.2 million and above.
Per annum?
Yeah.
You're rich?
Well, I won't say you're rich. You are now taxed higher. Because, if you look at the definition, that's one of the conversations around this new law. If you look at the definition of poor, I think it's about $3 or $10 a month. If you're earning $3 a day or something, I can't remember, apologies, but something around that. If you're earning less than $3 a day, then you're considered poor. So, but if you're earning more, then you're not poor. I don't know if you are rich, but you're not poor.
That's interesting. Okay, now there's some part of this that talks about the rent relief.
Oh yeah,
and all of that. So what does that mean?
Okay, so if you're a tenant, you're living in a rented apartment, the new law gives you a kind of relief. Before now, there's a whole lot of reliefs and allowances. You have the personal income allowance, which is 20% of your gross income. Then you have consolidated relief allowance, which is 200,000, no matter what you earn. And then there is pensions, there is national housing fund, there is social insurance. All of those are given back to you if you're a salary earner, and if you contribute to all of those, all of them are given back to you. But because now the new law says, let's scrap all of those things so that let everybody enjoy all of this. Now, the key issue around the rent allowance is the urban poor. I don't know if my English is okay. Urban poor. Now, the person who is in the rural areas probably will not pay rent. Maybe they are living in a family house. They are living in a place where they are just paying maybe 1,000 naira a month for rent. But there are people who are not earning enough money, but they are living in the city with the rich. So the rental rates will not favor the urban poor. I'm urban poor. I'm living in the same area with you. Your rent in my area is maybe 2 million a year. And I'm living in that same area, but I don't earn much with you. I don't earn the same thing that you earn. But we're paying the same rent. So you can see we're buying the same gas at the same price. We're paying the same transport, fare. So those are urban poor. Yes, they are in the urban areas, they are in the metropolitan, but they are not as rich as others. So that's the rent allowance. And the new law says that for every person who comes forward with a valid reason and identification and record that they pay rent, you'll be given 20% of your rent as allowance, pegged to a maximum of 500,000. That's what the law says. So you come, you say you have rent of 2 million, and then government says, okay, we'll give you 20%, which is like 400,000, right? you get 400,000 as rent allowance. But if you pay more and your 20% is like 800,000, government says we pegged it at 500,000, and you take 500,000 out of your income for us to tax you, then the rest will be your taxable income.
Okay, if you were a business owner, you run your own business.
However, I need to say this: if you're living in your own house,
Yes.
you don't enjoy that.
Okay. If you run your own business, maybe producing all of this because you probably process your own taxes yourself, or you have a tax consultant who you sit with to put these figures together. But if you're a salary earner, how do you put all this forward? I live here, I pay this rent. How do you make all of those arguments?
Your company accountant or your company HR will do that, or your company tax consultant will put that together. And then the documentation is show evidence that you actually pay rent in your name or, jointly, whatever. So show the evidence that you've paid your landlord for your rent for that particular year. It's documented in your data, and then you are qualified to have that rent allowance. If not, if there's no evidence that you pay rent, maybe you are squatting, you're living with someone, your rent is being paid by a godfather or someone, then you don't qualify.
Okay. There was this confusion and debacle as well, seemingly regarding, digital transfers.
Yeah.
Would it be taxed? Would it not be taxed? Some people are saying if you're going to do transfers now, write a description to state what the transfer is for, and all of that. What is the real situation with that?
Okay, the real situation is that Nigerians are wise people, and honestly, about the wisest in the world. Sometimes it can be cunning, But notwithstanding, the truth is there is banking, there is financial transaction, there is business transaction, there is taxable transactions. So, for example, I send money to Dio for transports, and the money hits your account. I describe it as transport. That doesn't seem like it's an income to you, but it's some money that came to you. So if you took that money and did transport, the money is gone. You didn't have it, technically speaking. I gave you 10,000 naira, you use 10,000 naira for transport. The money is not, there's nothing to tax. However, every month I give you 10,000 naira for transport. Every month. And every month you take that money out as transport. But every month I give you 10,000 naira, every month you use 7,000 naira to do transport. Every month you have 3,000 naira. So there seems to be a system around it. Technically, inherently, there seems to be a system around the frequency of occurrence, the patterns, the intents. So as a taxman, I'm obliged to ask you questions. Why are you having 10,000 naira every month as transport from this man? What is the nature of transaction? What are you guys doing? And they say, hey, he's giving me transport. Okay, good. So why are you having 3,000 naira out of every 10,000 naira? So in actual fact, you've gained 3,000.
How can you tell?
I've just asked you a question.
No, before you get to the point of asking me a question, you probably observe what you consider to be a trend, as you described a while ago. So how can you tell that out of that 10,000 every month, I always have 3,000 left?
That is why
it's unlikely that only 10,000 for transport hits my account every month. Other monies hit my account as well.
That is why record keeping is important. That is why when you come forward to say, this is my income for the year, government assumes you have come to do that in good faith. And they are good. You're a good citizen, you've come forward to pay your taxes, and then you're good. However, if somebody does a risk assessment, an evaluation of Dio's presentation that Dio earns 120,000 or Dio gets 120,000 as transport every year from Tunde, and they say, okay, can you give me evidence that you actually earned this money or you didn't earn more. As a taxman, I have the right to query you. And then you're not able to prove it. And then I could feel, okay, can you give me your bank statement? Let me verify what you have said. As a taxman, I'm a government official. It's my duty to assess you. And then I did my audit, I did my investigation, I did my forensics. And I found out that every time 10,000 gets to your account, you spend less of that 10,000. I could ask you and say, prove to me that you didn't gain from this 10,000. That's tax system. That's a system. That's a system. If money hits your account today, if 10 million naira hits your account today, in the banking sector, the bank has the right to ask you, what's this money for? Because it's unusual, it's infrequent, it's suspicious. It has never hit your account before. Now it's hitting your account. The bank can hold on to that money and ask you questions. What is this money for? So recently, someone paid me, and sincerely, someone paid me 2.1 million in a new account. And he said, we've paid. I said, oh, okay. Oh, thank you. And I didn't see the money. And he gave me the evidence. I'm like, what happened? What happened? Where's the money? And I remember it's a new account. I opened that account with 50,000. I've been putting 1,000 just to keep the account running. And then all of a sudden, the 2.1 million hit the account. And I want to draw that money. And I couldn't see the money. So I remember, I had to go to my bank and I called, who's my account officer? It's a new account. What happened? My money is withheld. There's a lien on my money. I said, sir, what's this money for? Who paid this money? And I cleared it. And within 24 hours, the money was dropped. So it is what it is. And let's not be agitative about it. It's a system. There is money laundering, there is financing of terrorism and all of that. That is a secondary issue, but it all stems from all of this transaction. And as for what comes to your bank, if it is not income, you won't be taxed. That's the truth.
There's so many questions, Tunde. There's so many questions, but we have to go for a break now.
All right.
But before we go for the break, I'll ask this, then you can answer when we return. Wouldn't that discourage people from
using the bank?
Using the banks? What you described right now. And do I always have to, because people, me for example, I don't always use the description part when I do transfers. So is it compulsory to do that now, to specify what is for transport and what you're paying someone for a service or a product, as it were, so to speak? We'll go for a break. When we return, Nigeria's new tax regime is still a conversation on this episode of Canvas with Tunde Bello. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
In the heart of our journey, where the sun touches the earth and the wind whispers through the trees, a new chapter unfolds. A chapter where energy illuminates more than just bulbs. It lights up minds. A chapter of unity, a coming together with a common goal to energize futures and illuminating lives. In classrooms, young dreams evolve, inspired by the promise of a brighter tomorrow fueled by available energy. Small businesses flourish, becoming seeds of prosperity. Energy that empowers and is catalyst for growth and change. The future is energy. So, let's light up the path to a sustainable future together. Energy for you, me, and the world at large. Energy for people and planet. We are Renaissance.
Welcome back. Still Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by Renaissance. We're discussing Nigeria's new tax regime. My guest is Tunde Bello. Tunde, welcome again.
Thank you very much, Daya.
So I asked you a question before the break.
Yeah.
All that was described thus far, do you think that will have some negative consequences as far as
Using the bank.
the banking industry is concerned? Do you think more people might want to have fewer transactions or even take their monies out of the banks? Since, and all this thing about you must describe every transaction, you must, and then, people keeping your money, asking you, because I've never experienced it. The bank asking me, what's this money for?
Well, I mean, no bank will ask you what this money for. It is not suspicious. It is not unusual. If it is not infrequent, and I like to explain things a lot, so that there's no misconception, So, I mean, sometimes I do, not sometimes, I do monthly upkeep to my wife. It's not our money. Monthly upkeep, maybe 50,000. Weekly upkeep for the kids. For you, even she normally asks me, who is this one for? Do you understand? Because if it's for the house, she knows that she can't touch it. And this is your money. She knows this is my money. I mean, so that's what it is. I'm a tax consultant. I've done over 100 million in turnover. Yeah. I've done over 500 million in turnover as a tax consultant. But it's not my money. I've seen where the government bills a client, go and pay 440 million as tax. And the client sends the money to my account. I mean, in all senses, you are 440 million richer. But it's not my money. So I move the same money, I pay the money to government, 440 million. So there is transaction, there is a transition in and out. I can account for it. The same thing with the banks. When you take your money to the bank, deposit inside your Elisha King's account, you put money there, 500 million. The bank doesn't rejoice. It's not their money. So when you want to withdraw the money, the bank takes charges. Maybe 7%, maybe 5%, maybe 3% of every 1,000, maybe 3 naira for every 1 million. So that is the bank's money. So the bank charges is the bank money, not your deposit. There is customer's deposit, and then there is income from deposit. So for keeping that money, they take a charge. That is their own money. So when they are reporting, they will report customers' deposits, and then they will report income from customers' deposit, which is their income. That is what they use to do business. So the same thing with the description. So if somebody wants to stop using the bank because you don't want to pay taxes, that seems to be shortage of knowledge. That's a knowledge gap. So where will you keep the money? Would you rather carry 10 million naira? I mean, who's going to give you 10 million naira cash? People do. Maybe politicians. I mean, but you don't do transaction, you don't do business transaction and give somebody 10 million naira. You also want to see the trace. You want to trace that from your business, this is what went out and this is what came in. So that's just it.
Maybe 10 million is going overboard or it's a lot. But are we suggesting now that if my wife wants to go buy tomatoes and pepper, what's 10,000 naira? And I want to transfer money to her, I have to put in the description, money for tomatoes and pepper. That's what I mean.
If you don't want to put it, then no problem. But if you put it, it's good. See, what I'm saying is, it is what it is.
So if I don't put it in the description,
then when your wife is filing her tax returns, she cannot explain this is for tomatoes. See, the taxman is not an evil man. I need to correct that impression. He's also a taxpayer. Like I used to tell people, I'm not just a consultant. I'm a businessman. I'm a taxpayer myself. In fact, this new tax regime, we pay more taxes as tax consultants because we're not considered a small business. We're not paying small business taxes. We're not in the description of small businesses. So small business, if you make 50 million a year, you pay zero tax. If you make 10 million, you pay 30%. So let's not look at of course, there is in every policy, every program, there's disadvantage, there's advantages and all that. But when the benefit outweighs the cost, it's a good stuff.
Speaking of businesses, what does zero company income tax mean for small businesses?
If you earn less than 50 million a year as a small business, you pay zero tax. In the administration, like the administration talks about the Nigerian Revenue Service now. So they look at it and say, you presented your account, oh, your revenue is 50 million, then you pay no tax. That's what it means. Nothing more than that. Revenue, nothing more than that.
There's something about the 4% development levy?
Yeah, that's a new tax, part of the new key changes in company income tax. Before now, we have companies pay 20% if you're doing 25 million and 100 million. Then above 100 million, you pay 30%. And then there is education tax of 2.5%. There's police development levy of 0.1%. There is the National Science and Engineering levy. There is Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency levy. All of those things are incorporated into the taxes of companies before now. But all of those have been removed. So you just have company income tax and development levy of 4%. So if your company income tax is 30%, you pay 34% with the development levy. And then this 4% will now be used to take care of all those taxes that were removed. All the tertiary institutions will get from the 4%. Police will get from the 4%. Security agencies will get from the 4%. Technology agency will get from the 4%. National security will get from the 4%. So that's how this new tax law operates. So if you're a big company, you're going to pay that 4% plus your normal company income tax, making 34%. And then that 4% will be redistributed to all of these agencies.
Now, ideally, as I mentioned earlier, one of the purposes of this new tax regime is to widen the tax net.
Widen the tax net.
So as with individuals, do you suppose that this will encourage other businesses, especially small businesses, to formalize and thus start paying taxes?
Fantastic. So first and foremost, I need to say that tax is both a moral and legal issue. Legal issue in the sense that it is a law. So if you don't obey the law, you will be penalized. It's as simple as that. Then the moral issue in the sense that, is it good? Do you think it's good? So what I project normally is this. Recently, you must have seen it. I posted my dad's tax clearance. I posted my dad's taxes. When he was working, before he died, he paid his taxes. That was what gave us the entry into primary school in the 1980s. If your parent didn't pay taxes, you can't go to school because the school was free. So as you're coming to register for primary education, they ask, show your parents' tax clearance. So it is the taxes that my parents paid that gave me the access to free education. That's moral issue. So if my father didn't think it was necessary, he has denied me free education. So the same thing is what we're doing now. Most of us don't want to pay taxes. We'll be denying the generation coming infrastructure. The roads you're applying, as you were giving birth to, you start driving, you would never pay taxes, but you're using the roads. You're using the hospitals. You're using the lift in the public places. You're using the Wi-Fi. Oh, yeah. So these are monies of people who paid, that are now using for people who don't have, who you now have access to. So this new tax will make you to structure your business, structure your personal income taxes, make sure that you have built a system around it. What do I get every month? How do I get it every month? When do I get it every month? From who do I get it every month?
Okay. Now, one of the things that caused a lot of upheaval lately as well is conversations around linking numbers, linking your tax identification number, your TIN, national identification number, your NIN, with bank account and all of that. And some Nigerians are concerned either because they don't have one of these numbers, it may affect their bank account. What is the correlation? What is the situation with your TIN number, your NIN, your bank account, tax situation? What's all of that?
Okay, your national identity number is the unique identification code that is universally acceptable as an identification for everybody. Your national identity number, not your passport number, not your whatever number. So the national identity is the unique identification code that is used to know who you are, financially, socially, and all that. So now, if you work in a particular state, the state before now, even now, has the right to ask you, where is your tax? Because you're a resident in that state. The law says that where you live more than 180 days in a year is where you should pay your tax. It doesn't matter if you live in 5 places. So once it's added up, where you live more is where your taxes are paid. And for you to pay taxes, you need to have an ID. We need to identify you. Are you paying tax as a resident or as a non-resident? Are you paying tax as a business person or as a self-employed? Are you paying tax as a professional or as a trader? So that's what all of this does. And that's the digitization of the tax process. Dayo Elishakin, Tunde Bello, once you key in that ID, it brings out your data. So, and it is linked, of course, because you use your bank account to also profile you in case you tell lies or you evade tax.
Now, this digitization, should Nigerians be concerned about it? And a lot of Nigerians may not be adept to the whole digitization era and technology and IT and all of that. So are there any drawbacks to this?
For every system, there's a drawback. For every system, there are disadvantages. But of course, like I said, the cost-benefit analysis is that if the benefit outweighs, or if the benefits outweigh the cost, then it's good. So if you go to, as we call them, sane clients, these are what is operational. All these things are operational there. You come into a mall, you come into a facility, you come into an health system, you just give them your ID, and then, boom, your data is up. We know who you are. You know the last time you came here. You know what you're doing. You know where you live. And all. That's basically what digitization is all about. And I mean, it's good.
When you the expression is about saner climes, so to speak, you find, for example, in places like the US, the average American is very concerned. Some are even scared of the taxman, the IRS, always looking over your shoulder. Should Nigerians be afraid of our version of the IRS, in this case, the
Nigeria Revenue Service,
the NRS? Afraid or concerned about them looking over your shoulder?
I mean, pay your taxes. I mean, let's just pay our taxes and sleep with our 2 eyes closed. One, we don't want to pay taxes. 2, we don't trust government, which is a key issue here. The issue of trust is a social contract. If you come after me, why? And if I do the needful, what do you do with it? So government, in this case, should do the needful. Should help the masses. The critical mass is suffering. I mean, it's a poor country if you look at the critical mass. So the few who have shouldn't lord it over the most who don't have, right? So if you're concerned about they are coming for me, it means you're earning money. It means you have something. So it is only the man who has something hidden in a log of wood who drop the load in his head with care.
The person who is earning an income now is not necessarily responsible for that critical poor mass. In fact, one could argue that the government or successive governments in Nigeria are responsible for the high poverty rate in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So is it my fault that I am earning an income? When you say don't lord it over those who don't have, I mean, have I done bad by bettering myself one way or another and earning a decent income? And I'm not responsible, once again, for the critical poverty mass.
You're not, but when you deny the critical mass, that portion that you're supposed to give them, you put it further down. So that's why the system is like that, including government officials. Because when you say government has a face. The politicians, the legislative, the judiciary, the honorables, the local government officials, these are people we call government, but we are also government in the sense that we put people there to administer things for us. So generally speaking, I think we should do better. Trust, accountability, responsibility. These 3 things have to be in place.
What are the most critical steps that the average Nigerian should take now to stay compliant?
Do your tax identification, pay your taxes, demand accountability. You can avoid tax, but don't evade tax.
Now, for those employed in the formal sector, most Nigerians don't calculate their taxes themselves. As you mentioned a while ago, your employer is a tax agent, so they deduct, as it's called, at source, and then pay. Now, but for those who may not be in formal employ, you hear once again, to borrow your expression, senile climbs. There are periods in the month or in the year when they say it's tax season.
Yeah.
And then citizens are by themselves bring out their calculators and then start to compute their own taxes to pay and to file and all of that. That's not a thing in Nigeria.
It's not.
It's not. So is that going to be a thing now? And then if it's not been the culture, one can understand or appreciate that most Nigerians who fall in that bracket have no idea how to do this. So how do they navigate this terrain there?
Like someone said, he said it's our season. Tax consultant. And that's what some of us earn money from. And I'm not trying to advertise it. What I'm saying is that...
Oh, it's fine. Please advertise.
So, you have family accountant, you have tax consultant.
You have Alexander Stephen IQ.
That's what we do. But it's a self-assessment regime. What that means is that you come forward. So if you're not sure of what to do, contact a professional to do it for you, right? And there are categorizations. You're a small person. But if you're working, of course, your employer will do that. Then the monies that didn't come from your employers, you have to now account for it yourself. And then you can now say, for me, hey, Tunde, I learned you're a tax consultant. Can you help me with my taxes? And then, in good faith, professional and ethical practice, duty of care, consideration and empathy within the law, then I'll tell you what your taxes are. If you can do it yourself, there is a lot of tech guys coming in now to provide that platform for everybody to use. But if you're not tech savvy, you're not technologically inclined, you are to approach a taxman. And then the tax assessor, we have what we call area assessors in every local government, in every town, in every city, in every cluster that is identified, wards. There are supposed to be area assessors. For example, in Rivers State, you have Rivers State Internal Revenue Service, which has different tax offices close to people. So you go to that place and you say, you want to pay your tax. And the person says, oh, fine. What do you do? How much do you earn? Do you have a bank account? Don't you have a bank account? How do you account for your money? And then they look at you, they give you your assessment. Sometimes they use best of judgment. Sometimes they use their discretion as pattern in the law. And then sometimes they look at the figure in front of them that you have presented, and then they tell you what to pay.
We have to wrap this up now, Tunde, but finally I have to ask you, to everyone who's listening right now or watching this, should one feel any apprehension regarding this new tax regime? Is there any need to feel apprehensive or feel concerned at all?
No. And I would say no. Again, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a Nigerian. And by law, I am obliged to pay my tax. Let's even take it from there. This is our country. Let's make it better by paying our taxes. Secondly, let's make it even better by asking the taxman, the government, what is this money used for? Accountability. That is why we shouldn't vote foolishly any longer. Because the people who are going there because of the money they earn and because of the social contract that we have and the responsibility they have to come back to affect their constituency positively. So when the man who goes to say, Donald, Honorable Donald, you're welcome back from Abuja. You're welcome back from Brown House, the brick house. This money that we pay, waiting they take and do, he has the obligation, the right, and the duty to explain to us. Oh, that's what we used to build the rumours, whatever primary school. That's what we used to build the rumours health center. That's what we used to. Okay, well done. And if you can't account for it, okay, you have to come back. Come and join us. let another person go there to represent us well. So we should not be apprehensive. We should demand accountability. And the Ombuds office is created by the law in this new tax law, where you can go and submit queries, objections, and say, I can't see what is going on here. I don't know what happened. And you shouldn't be apprehensive. Just pay your taxes and sleep well.
Pay your taxes and sleep well. We'll wrap up this episode of Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable. On that note, we've discussed Nigeria's new tax regime. My guest has been Tunde Bello of Alexander Stephen IQ. Tunde, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been an awesome time, and I'd like to do it again.
There's so much, really. And hopefully, maybe in the coming weeks and months, we'll be unpacking some of what's happening right now. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Pay your taxes, as Tunde says, sleep well at night. Thank you for joining this episode of Canvas, brought to you by Renaissance African Energy Company Limited. I'm Dial Shakin. Bye for now.